advice to your unique circumstances, but we do believe that spiritual and mental health are very serious and important. So I want to encourage you after this episode, if you need to follow up with someone that can give you some professional advice, whether that's a mental health professional or a pastor, to help you with your unique circumstances. But right now, before we jump in, I want to ask you to go ahead and hit the notification bell, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you never miss an episode of the Family Answer Man, and that really helps us out a lot. It gets us up to the top of people's algorithm. Also, if you would rate and review us on your favorite podcast app, that helps us out as well. And as always, you can help grow the community by inviting your family and your friends to join you on this journey of having happier, healthier, stronger families. Well, Dr. Mark, good to be here with you today.
Yes.
We've got a big topic, big question, probably got a lot of people's attention.
Hopefully so. Yeah.
How dads can help guide their daughters through a psychopathic relationship from, a biblical worldview, as always.
Right.
We came up before the show, we were laughing about some alternative titles for the show, stopping the psycho from becoming your son-in-law without going to jail, or when to hire John Wick. So hopefully we'll be able to give a good perspective on this issue. Is this something that's, pretty big words, right? From a psychopathic relationship. Right. Is this something that's pretty common?
Unfortunately, it is. I think this is every dad's nightmare, where his daughter gets involved with a man, maybe a little older in many cases, and she wants to fix him. She wants to change him. He's the proverbial bad boy. He's the one that is always getting in trouble. He's the one that's always, dropping out, doing things that are reckless, doing things that are irresponsible, doing things that are impulsive, and constantly, again, causing problems wherever he goes. And so then, as a dad, your daughter is now getting involved with this guy. This is the one that teachers say, please don't get involved with him. This is the one that teachers warn girls about. This is the one that pastors preach about, that not to, take home, if you will. But all of a sudden, your daughter wants to date him. Your daughter wants to change him. Your daughter's falling in love with him. Your daughter finds him interesting. Your daughter finds him, as a person that needs, evangelism. And so all of a sudden, she is wrapped up in his life. And when that happens, in 99% of the cases, I'll argue, there is nothing but heartache at the end. There's nothing but destruction at the end. There's nothing but great, deep regret at the end. In some cases, unfortunately, there is life-changing problems that will occur. And so futures are sometimes, redirected because of this person. So because of that, we as dads, we as pastors, we as mental health professionals, we as Sunday school teachers, whatever you may be, whoever you may be out there, need to be mindful of this and what to do. Because again, about 75% of the cases, you're going to have, if you're a dad of daughters, you're going to have this situation. It may not last long. It may last for weeks or months. It may last for years. I don't know. But you're going to have a situation where your daughter is going to get involved with someone, maybe in their early teens or in their late teens or in their 20s, that you are going to have some sort of intervention so that she does not make some terrible mistakes that could, again, impact her for the rest of her life. So this is a very powerful, important subject, and I hope and pray that those who are listening can glean some wisdom from this.
Absolutely. And since John Wick is a fictional character and we want to have a biblical worldview today, I'm going to go ahead and read the question and let you jump in. Also, if you have a question that you would like for us to answer, we would love to do that. You can email us directly, familyanswerman@liveoak.church. familyanswerman@liveoak.church is the email address, and here is our question for the day. It says, my 18-year-old daughter is dating a guy who dropped out of high school due to multiple expulsions. He's 19 years old. He lives with his grandmother. He doesn't work. He's been arrested multiple times for disorderly conduct and DWI, and it's rumored that he sells drugs. My daughter thinks that she can change him. What can I do?
Wow. So there are four things that are happening here that we need to be mindful of. Four things that we need to unpack in order to deal with this question. Number one, what you're dealing with here, it sounds like, is a codependent female. Now, codependency, as we said before, is not a diagnosis, it's more of a description. And basically it describes someone who needs to be needed. It describes someone who needs to help others. It describes someone who needs to be involved with those who they perceive as hurting, who are struggling with fortune. Maybe they're living in some very unfortunate circumstances. And so they have this heart and this desire to make a good and positive change in their life, which is a good thing.
Right.
And so codependent people generally are good people. The problem is they get into situations that can turn unhealthy and even abusive very quickly, because they're dealing with people in many cases who may not appreciate the help, who may not appreciate the willingness and desire to change. They may not appreciate what this person is trying to offer them or give to them. And so what happens is they get involved with an abuser or a user. The difference really is this: an abuser will hurt you. An abuser will do things that are harmful. The user will just take from you and take from you and take from you until you have depleted all your resources, all of your energy, all of your efforts. Users often want to deplete you financially. They want to deplete you of your material possessions. They're the one who, I don't have a car, but let me drive your car, and they wreck your car. Okay, right. I don't have enough money, so you empty your bank account. I need for you to help me with this or with that, and so we give up your furniture so that you can have their apartment can be furnished, but all of a sudden now they break up with you, but they have a furnished apartment. So they use you. They may not hurt you physically, but they will use you. But again, the codependent person gets involved with an abuser or user, and then things take a turn for the worse. So that's the first thing that's happening here. So we have perhaps a young lady who is codependent. Number two, the second thing that's happening is, though she's an adult, she's 18. Yeah. She's an adult, she's 18, and so therefore she has some legal rights to pursue and the freedom to get involved with whomever she wishes.
Yeah, that's the difficult age.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but in the same token, she's also living at home and she's dependent on her parents. So you have an 18-year-old who's an adult, who lives at home, who's dependent on her parents. So this creates this amazing paradox. So you have a dad who basically needs to feel as if he needs to protect his daughter, and rightly so. Yeah. But his daughter is not 14. She's 18.
Right.
She's an adult.
And there is a difference.
So she can make her own decisions and basically do her own thing. And the law, if you will, cannot intervene unless something, criminal occurs. So that's the second thing. A third thing is you have a man who sounds like a psychopath. Now, that's a technical term. Basically, or that's, I should say, a generic term. The technical term is antisocial personality disorder.
So explain that for people that aren't familiar.
So the technical term that we've heard, for years and years and years is that person is a psychopath. And what that generally means is this person basically has no sense of respect for boundaries. In other words, they take advantage of you. They will take your car. They will come over and crawl through the window at midnight. They will get involved in things that are often illegal or immoral. They have this great sense of grandiosity. I'm more than I really am. I try to portray or deceive others into believing that I'm more than I really am. They often may get involved in various drug deals. They get arrested often because they don't follow the rules, because the rules don't apply to them. The rules don't apply to them. They don't have to abide by the rules, the school rules, the rules of the road, whatever. That's why they're often expelled from school. This is why they are often arrested. This usually starts very early in life. So these are just some things that, again, that we call the psychopath. But again, the technical term, the diagnostic term, maybe is a better way of putting it, is antisocial personality disorder. And again, it's basically, they're one and the same in many cases. One, again, more generic, one's more professional diagnostically. So here are the symptoms of the antisocial personality disorder person. Number one, they have a pattern of disregard for rules. Again, they don't believe in rules. They don't follow the rules. They're the ones that when they go into a situation or a setting, whether it be school or whatever event it may be, and the rules are on the wall, they don't believe in the rules. They don't follow the rules. They don't apply to them. This usually starts in adolescence. You usually start seeing this around ages 12, 13, 14, definitely around age 15, 16, and it progressively gets worse.
Okay.
Because again, they no longer fear consequences. They no longer consider consequences. Consequences don't apply to them. They have ways in their mind of getting around the consequences. So that is one of the first things. A second thing is they fail to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behaviors. In other words, they're repeatedly or often creating a pattern of being arrested because they will not conform to social norms. They will say things and do things, whether it be at church or in school, that everyone knows is wrong, but they do it anyway. And so again, they have this repeated pattern of this type of behavior. Thirdly, they're constantly lying and conning others, either for profit or for pleasure. Sometimes they will steal from a store, even though they have, hundreds of dollars in their pocket. Okay, because that's fun for them. It's a sport for them. They will lie to you when telling the truth would have served them better. They will lie about other people. They will create lies. They'll create drama, if you will, whether it be in the classroom or in the church, or whether it be just among their peers. So lying and deceit and conning is a part of part of their life. They see that as a sport. It's just who they are. They're very impulsive. There is no plan for tomorrow. There is no thought of the future. There is no sense of, if I do this, then this is what's going to occur. They do not believe that their actions have consequences. They believe their actions are their actions, and they can redirect the consequences. They can maybe restructure the consequences, or the consequences is something that will not eventually apply to them. And this is why for the psychopath, if they're constantly getting away with things, if the judge throws out their case, if the teacher gives them one more chance, if the girlfriend or whomever says, well, don't do this ever again, they just see that as, I got away with it.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it reinforces everything that they already believe. That's a negative.
Exactly. To them, they got away with it. To them, I told you the consequences don't apply to me. I told you I always get away with it. I told you that this is something that I know how to manipulate. And so you're right. It reinforces their activity. They're often irritable and aggressive. They often are the person who creates physical altercations or fights. They're the persons that will assault you. They're the person that will, come barging into your office, or come barging into your home, or come barging into, whatever situation you may be in, and threaten you with no regard to what could happen or what might happen. So they have also a reckless disregard for safety, for themselves or for others. And this is one reason why dads with daughters who are involved with these kind of people need to be concerned. Yeah. Because they are reckless and they have no regard for safety for themselves or for other people. They're the person that will go down the interstate at 100 miles an hour with no seatbelts on, and weave in and out of traffic. So they're the ones who drink and drive. They have no sense of safety for themselves or for others. They're very reckless. Next, they're irresponsible. They cannot keep a job. They will promise to work, they'll promise to get a job, but they will lose the job within weeks or months, if not sooner.
Okay.
Why? Because they're smarter than the boss. The rules don't apply to them. They're reckless. They're impulsive. They don't show up for work.
That doesn't make for a good employee.
It doesn't make for a good employee. Yeah. And so because of this, they can't keep a job. No one wants this individual working for them. And now all of a sudden their reputation follows them. So the only way for them to make money or to get money is to A, steal it, con it, or sell drugs to gain it, or do something else that's criminal. And then last of all, the worst part of them is they have a lack of remorse. They don't care that you got hurt. They don't care that they stole from you. They don't care they conned you. They don't care that someone is going to be hurting because of this. So number one, in this case, for those who've just tuned in, we're talking about the psychopathic male getting involved with the codependent female. In this case, you have a woman who's codependent, which means she needs to be needed. Number two, you have a woman who's 18, which means she can make up her own mind and make her own choices. And thirdly, you have this psychopath or this antisocial person now in her life. So these are people, again, who wreak havoc on communities, churches, and families. They're the ones who are violent. They have no respect for boundaries, and ultimately they are just dangerous. The fourth element in this question, you're just tuning in, is there's a dad who's concerned.
Right.
And that there's a dad who can see where this is headed. And there's a dad who, again, recognizes that this type of person, the antisocial personality disordered person or the psychopath, they ruin people's lives. It's been said that not all psychopaths are serial killers, but all serial killers are psychopaths.
Right.
You see this classic case in point for those who were around in the 90s of Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, the Columbine killers.
Yeah.
I will argue these individuals were your classic psychopaths. You see this in other scenarios and other situations similar to this one. But these are your psychopaths, your Ted Bundys of the 1960s and 70s, where he, again, is a serial killer of several women. He was your quintessential textbook psychopath. Deceptive, lying, very deceitful, very charismatic in many ways, lots of personality in many ways, was able to fool lots of people, at least for a while, but he was your proverbial psychopathic killer. So because 80% of all cases that are psychopaths are men, this dad needs to be concerned because his daughter is in a dangerous situation. And for dads out there whose daughters are dating men like this, your daughter is in a dangerous situation. He can potentially ruin the rest of her life in ways that, again, she will regret, for decades to come.
Yeah, you can see a variety of ways of how being in a relationship with someone like this can cause long-term significant damage and issues.
It really does. And so if we don't recognize this as dads, as families, as pastors, as counselors, as teachers, as principals, whoever you are who's listening out there, if we don't recognize this and warn our daughters about these individuals, and even warn our sons about having these people in our lives as friends. Because, again, these people are very charismatic. They can be very influential. They have this grandiose sense of self-importance. They want you to feel, important as well. And by, again, being their friend, you have this sense of, wow, this is the person I want to be like. This is the person I want to be around. He commands authority. He's large and in charge and all these things. But the problem is these psychopathic, antisocial personality disordered people, they are going to lead your sons and daughters, your daughters and sons down a road that, again, for many of them will be problematic for years to come.
So there really is a reason that we need to address these issues when they do arise.
Absolutely. And here's another thing that we don't think about, and that is this. Anywhere, depending on the stats you're reading, anywhere from 3 to 4% of the population has this personality disorder.
That's a little terrifying.
That is terrifying. So if you're a pastor, and you have 100 people in your congregation, at least 3 of them, by these stats, are going to fit this description. Okay, and so maybe even 4, and that's a lot of people.
Yeah,
and that grows exponentially as the numbers increase, of course. So why is there no changing these individuals? See, this daughter, if you're just tuning in, wants to change this psychopath, but here's the reality: there is no changing these individuals. The reason why this is dangerous is because these folks, in 99% of the cases, will not change. They will not go to therapy. They see it as useless, but they will only go to therapy when it is court-ordered or mandated. And even then, the results are extremely minimal. 99% of those who go into therapy, things do not end well.
Okay.
So again, I'm not saying they are 100% without hope, but it is very, very unlikely that they will make the correct changes that we would want to see in the lives of our families.
And you speak about that from personal experience and professional experience.
Sure.
I mean, you've been a mental health professional for 30
years.
30 years.
Yeah.
And so you've seen that the results of therapy with these types of individuals.
Exactly.
Just in addition to all the statistics that say that.
Exactly. So the research is very clear that the psychopath, the antisocial personality person, the results of improvement are minimal. Again, not impossible. So we do hold out hope, but again, very unlikely. So here's the big question. If you're just tuning in, as we're talking about the psychopathic male and the codependent female, what do we do? What is a dad to do, if you will, in this situation? And what we've discovered is this: external control of your daughter who's an adult rarely works. Now, I know there's some men out there saying, well, I'll tell you what I'd do. I just chain her to the bedpost and tell that boy if he steps foot on my property one more time, I'm going to, do something. Well, okay, you can do that, and some will do that. And I'm not saying that's always a bad idea.
There may need to be drastic intervention at times, right?
Exactly. But the problem with that external control is that it rarely works. Because if you're dealing with an adult daughter, what's going to happen is she is going to see, if you will, this psychopathic boyfriend now as a martyr. And he is going to play the martyr. And he's going to play the victim. And now what happens is your daughter no longer is going to involve her family and keep them informed as to what's happening in the relationship.
Right.
In other words, she now too becomes very deceptive and very duplicitous and very disingenuous towards her family, towards her dad, because the dad is again using this external control. The boyfriend is now becoming a martyr, and so now she's going underground, if you will, in the relationship.
And so an attempt for the father to really set a boundary that the daughter can't, it actually creates the opposite reaction where he becomes her enemy because she feels like she's got to protect and rescue and provide for the psychopathic
The dad becomes
boyfriend.
the enemy, the psychopathic boyfriend becomes the victim, and she is the rescuer once again. So what do we do? What do we do in this situation? Well, number one, I would argue this. You have to give information. The one thing that we can do, and perhaps many will argue the only thing we can do in these situations, is give information. So you can give information to your daughter as to where this is going to go. You can tell her where you know with 99.9% accuracy where this will lead. And so you give warning, and at the same time you give grace. You need to let her know that this is where this is headed, and if it goes where you think it's going to go, and you're pretty confident it will, that when the bottom falls out, and it will, the bottom will fall out, that she can turn to you and come back home to you, even though her life will now be changed, even though her life will be on the brink of ruin because she's got involved with this kind of person, that she can come back. It's when dads say, if you don't do what I say, you can never come back, that now she's in a situation to where the only person I can go to, the only person left that will take me now is the psychopathic male.
Yeah.
So dads, keep that door open, keep that line of communication open with your daughters.
And like you said, with grace, letting them know this is where this is going to end up, but also then not when they do come home saying, see, I told you this is where.
I told you so, may not be healthy.
Right.
What they need at that moment in time is lots of grace and lots of, again, just forgiveness and love. Next, as dads, here's what else you can do. Keep close ties on this guy. Dad, invite him to church. Let him know indirectly that you know who he is.
Sorry, pastors.
Let him know indirectly you know who he is. In the movie Meet the Parents, and most of our audience I think has seen that movie. It's an interesting, fun little movie. But in the movie Meet the Parents, Jack Burns, who plays the dad in this, played by Robert De Niro, Jack Burns, the dad, makes it clear to Greg, I'm watching you.
Yes.
I'm watching you. He talks about the circle of trust. He talks about, I'm watching you. Wherever you go, I'm watching you. Psychopathic people don't want to be discovered. Psychopathic people do not want to be discovered. They operate in deceit. They operate in deception. They operate in destruction. And so if you're a dad and you have your eyes on this guy and you know who he is and you let him know I am watching, you let him know I'm involved, you let him know I'll be checking. You let him know I have friends. You let him know there's eyes out there. You let him know, how precious your daughter is. You let him know that you're on to him. And you don't have to do that in a threatening way, but you can do that very matter-of-factly. You can let him know that you have friends in high places or whatever it may be. You let him know that you're best friends with the sheriff or whoever it may be. But you let him know that, again, you're on to him. The psychopathic person, here's the point, they do not want to be discovered. They operate in deceit, deception, and destruction. They do not like to have a strong male presence in their life. And so this is very important for dads to know. The psychopath does not like it when there is a strong male presence around or involved. Because here's what they know. A strong male presence can expose them. A strong male presence can exhaust them, and a strong male presence can expel them. And they don't want that. Yeah. So dads, again, if you're not involved, you need to get involved with your daughters. If you're not watching to see who they date, if you leave that up to your wife or to their mother, you're really missing out on protecting your children, protecting your daughter.
And I like the fact that you use the word strong male presence, not dominant or domineering, right? We talked about that. You don't want to take that route, especially with an adult, daughter, but a strong presence.
A strong male presence. Again, you can be very, very much like Jack Burns. He was very, clear as to what he was capable of doing. He was very clear as to where he was in his daughter's life. He was very clear that I'm watching you. The psychopath can only keep up the deception for so long. Until eventually their true colors come out. And that's very important to note. So therefore, as a parent, beware of this, and let your daughter beware of this, and let her know of what to expect. And when the psychopath begins to say things and do things that the dad has predicted, it's going to give the dad some credibility. As a parent, therefore, don't hesitate to get law enforcement involved. If you sense something or see something happening that is illegal, that is abusive, that is criminal, don't hesitate to get the law involved. Even your daughter may say, "But Dad, don't call the sheriff. Dad, don't call the deputy. It was just this one time. He didn't mean to drink and drive. He was having a bad..." She is going to protect him. Don't hesitate to get the law involved. Don't hesitate in filing charges. Because again, if you give him one more chance, all he sees as, "I got away with it." So in other words, put him on a short string, if you will. And eventually, here's what will happen. He will eventually again, realize this is too much. This dad is too much. They're watching me all the time. The daughter is no longer, I no longer have her under my spell. And then also too, or she might even realize that he is a psychopath, that my dad was right, and that dad was right all along, and maybe we'll hopefully, prayerfully, let this guy go and go for someone that is, again, more in line with the will of God for her life.
Yeah.
So again, dads who are listening, please get involved in your daughter's life. Please know who they're dating. Get to know this guy. Let him know that you have eyes on him, especially if there's some red flags, especially if his resume is one of a psychopath, antisocial personality person. He's not working. He's lying. He's got a rap sheet. He's constantly in trouble. He's constantly being expelled. He mooches off of his, elderly grandmother. If you have a guy like that in your daughter's life and she wants him in her life, you have to be on top of this, almost making it your mission 24/7. If you do that, hopefully and prayerfully, that guy will leave and your daughter will have her eyes wide open to what's going on.
Well, there you have it from the Family Answer Man. Dads, make sure you engage and are involved in your daughter's lives. Again, just glad that you joined us. Want to ask you, invite your friends and your family to join you on this journey as well, as we all seek to have stronger, healthier, happier families.